Hello, teacher. I'm fine, and you?
Great. As I said, everything fine. Working a lot, answering messages, chatting with my students a lot. All good. Bueno, my dear people. So we're here because we're working on the first class of the week number 6. Right? This week it was supposed to be, well, it was not, it is supposed to be talking about finances and your tips and also your habits regarding money. Right? How do you treat money? How do you work with it? Now that you are young, that you are 17, 18, 19, well, probably you have a different perspective of the money that you had before, no? So today we're going to start working like about the money, but talking about the money, we're going to check some topics, some grammar topics that we can use in order to do these kind of things better, right? Well, and I'm going to skip the first question because this question is for tomorrow for the second class, and I'm going to go directly into the second question. Second question says, do you normally borrow or lend money or neither of them? Do you normally borrow or lend money or neither of them?
In my case, neither of them.
Okay. Okay, very good. And Alan, what about you?
In my case, I have the same opinion of hers. I believe that if you lend money, you're losing your money because of you don't know if the person is going to return your money.
Yeah, actually, there is an old saying which says that whoever lends money is going to lose both the person, the friend, and the money, right? So it's like kind of a bad move, right? Okay, very good. And guys, how do you get your income? I mean, who gives you your income? Do you work or your parents help you, or where does that money come from?
Um, in my case, for the Sena,
Yeah.
so I had a job for my practice. So in until December,
Yeah.
I received the half of a minimum salarium, creo que se dice.
Minimum wage.
Eso.
Exactly. Okay, very good. So you're working like what they call the el patrocinio, right? In the sponsorship.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, very good. And where are you doing that? Where are you working? Is it in a company or where are you working? Where are you doing your internship? Amy, can you listen to me?
Yes, teacher.
Where are you working? Where are you doing your internships? In what company?
Um, in Hapaloy.
What is it about?
Eh, ay, ¿cómo es que se dice? The containers, about chips
Okay, okay.
that transport the containers, the mercancy of around the world. It's
Mhm.
one of the biggest companies about that.
Okay, very good. I have never listened about it, but okay, merchandising, ready? Merchandising, which is like mercancía. Okay. Okay, Amy, thank you so much. And Adam, what about where do you get your income?
My incomes come from giving classes.
Are you still working at the school?
Yeah, but in a different school, really. I'm currently teaching to kids more than adults like before. So I prefer this time of working because of it lets me to do everything about my university and etc.
Okay, very good. And well, is it enough money for you? Can you?
Yeah, because of I'm really studying this, the working life, all
Mhm.
this stuff. So I'm making um my own money and I don't know, it is a good income. I enjoy it.
Okay, so we could say that you can make your ends meet. This is an expression which is like, okay, my money is enough from one payment day until the next one. Yeah. What it means is that you have no problem. Like a lot of people have problems when they receive a salary because they spend it too quickly, and then when there is like the end of the month or something like that, they don't have enough money, so they are suffering until the next payment day, right? So making my ends meet, it's an expression which is like I have no problem and I make my money last until the next payment day with no problem. Yeah, there is not like a part of my month that I said like I'm broke, So well, very good. That's the idea today. It's like talking about these kind of things, like financial stuff, right? So we're going to do it, but we're going to focus today in one thing, which is, oh, sorry, which is really important. Yeah. And we're going to have here other questions related to your mom. Ready? Alan, could you please read the first question, mine?
Do you normally pay your debts on time?
Good. What is the meaning of debts?
Deudas.
Yeah, exactly. So well, have you ever had a debt, like a financial debt, like a credit or something?
No, I don't. Never. I've never a debt because of I'm so young for debt. I don't want to suffer.
Of course, of course. Well, when I was your age, I had like braces, and that was my first debt, and I always paid like on time, right? But okay, very good. Emily, what about you, my dear? Do you normally pay your debts on time?
But I don't have debts, but yes, I am a punctual person.
Ah, okay, very good. So you're quite responsible. Very good. Emily, help me to read the second question.
In this moment of your life, do you owe
Ah,
something to someone?
yeah, different from money, no? Well, what is the meaning of owe?
Deber?
Yeah, very good. Different from money, like a favor or something like that. Do you owe something to someone?
No.
So you are debts free.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, and finally, we have the last question, which is who does Congress provide your incomes? But you already answered that, which is like you provide yourself, right, with the same as sponsorship and with the salary from the school teaching, no? Good. So, guys, in this case, the idea is that we are focused on these verbs because these verbs usually receive objects, right? What we normally have in a sentence are three different parts, which is the subject, then the verb, and then the complement, right? But in the complement, usually we have something that is called the object, right? Now, the object, it's that thing that receives the action, okay? So, for example, if I say, I pay my debts, ready? Of course, I am the subject because I am the one that is doing the action. The action, of course, it's paid, yeah? And what is the object that is receiving the action? My debts, because that is exactly what I am paying. When you need to know what is the object of the sentence, think on what is the action that I do, and if that action goes over other thing. Yeah, for example, when I say I pay, but what do I pay? My debts. Okay, that word, which is after the verb, it's usually the object. Okay, now in this case, my dear people, we have, wait, two different kinds of objects, but let me just explain this part. We have here, for example, my brain keeps sending me signals, but I keep asking to him. So the word says, my brain keeps sending me signals. Let's analyze that sentence for a moment. Of course, that the subject is my brain, because that is the one that keeps sending, which is the verb. Yes. But then we have two words, me and signals, right? So what do you think is the object? Me or the signals?
Both of them.
Both of
But one
them.
of them is direct and another one is indirect object.
Thank you, Adam. Very good. So in that case, we're going to have two different kinds of objects. Ready? From here, we can extract that we have direct object or direct objects and indirect objects. Ready? Indirect objects, right? What is the difference? The difference is that the direct object is the one that it's directly receiving the action. For example, here, when I say my brain keeps sending, what does the brain keep sending? What is he sending? What is it sending?
Signals?
Signals, very signals, right? This is the direct object because that is exactly what we are sending or what the brain is sending. But it can have another indirect object, which in this case is not receiving the action, but it's receiving actually the direct object. So who is receiving the signals?
Me.
Me. So in that case, I am also an object, but I am not a direct object, but I am an indirect object, right? So it depends. What is the action that is being done? Who receives that action? And who receives that object that I'm talking about? Yeah. So in that case, for example, I said I keep asking to him, right? Asking in that case is of course implicit that I have questions, no asking questions. So that those questions are the direct object, but here we have the indirect object, right? Sometimes it's implicit, but we know that it's there, So in that case, it's different. Sometimes, as you can see, we are going to have the indirect object first and then the direct object. But some other times, I'm going to have the direct object first and then the indirect object. Ready? Other times, we have some verbs which only receive one object. For example, we'll just have it here. Go. Yeah. For example, some of these verbs can receive only one object. Ready? For example, here they said, do you normally pay your debts on time? Here we only have one object. I could say, yeah, of course, I pay my debts on time. I only have direct object. Yeah. But it's possible that I can include the other object. It's not mandatory. It's only an option. And then I can say, for example, yeah, of course, I pay my debts, but only to my mother, not to the other people. But I pay my debts to my mom. So in that case, what is what I paid? My debts. This is the direct object. And then I have, okay, those debts are received by my mom. So she's the indirect object, right? But if I want to leave it only with the direct object, it's perfectly fine. Okay. So in that case, my dear guys, we're going to find out that we have two different structures. Let me just show it to you. Right. Oh, but wait, before that. We have different objects and we can talk about the object as a noun, como sustantivo, or the object as a pronoun. The object as a noun is basically the name of the thing. For example, I pay my debts. I pay my debts. Right? See, yeah. But if I am going to talk more about that object, yeah, it's possible that I don't want to repeat the same noun. So I don't want to say, yes, and I pay my debts and my debts and my debts. So the most common thing is that I can replace that object for a pronoun. In this case, an object pronoun. Yeah. They're going to be very easy to remember. This is basically similar to the personal pronouns, but they change a little bit. It's like me, if it's I'm, you, him, her, it, us, you, and them, no? For replacing the object. Yeah? For example, in the first question, it says, do you eat ajiaco? Of course, ajiaco is the direct object. I said, yes, I like what?
It.
Exactly, of course. I like it because it's making reference to ajiaco, no? So I don't want to reach, yes, I like ajiaco. It's possible, but it's not very common. I want to shorten the information. So instead of saying again the noun, I'm going to replace it for a pronoun, right? Or for example, my dear Emily, if I say, do you know Spider-Man?
Yes, I know him.
Exactly, I know him. Very good. Or for example, if it's plural, then we would have to say, do you like horror? Here's horror movies?
No, I don't like it.
Mm,
No, I don't like them.
See, if it's only one movie, Amy, it's I don't like it. For example, do you like, I don't know, The Conjuring? It's only one movie, El Conjuro. Oh, no, teacher, I don't like it. But if it's plural, do you like horror movies? Then it would be, no, I don't like them, right? Because it's
Okay, teacher.
that's it. But remember that this is only when I don't want to repeat the noun. I don't want to repeat the name of the object. Yeah. It's optional to use one of them or the other, but using the object, or but sorry, using the pronoun or using the noun, it's going to have some changes in the position of them, right? But we're going to see that in a second. So in this case, guys, we're going to have two different structures, but it depends on the verb that we are using. Okay? For example, we have verbs such as announce, describe, explain, mention, provide, recommend, return, and say. Clear those verbs? Questions on vocabulary of those verbs? Or are they clear?
Teacher, I have a question.
Yeah, of course.
We can group all of that verbs as reporting verbs.
Not all of them, because well, we were checking that before, like in the week number 4. Yes. In this case, yes, all of these ones are reporting verbs, but there are other different verbs here that are not reporting verbs. Yes. So not necessarily could be reporting verbs per se. But these ones, yes, these ones are, I mean, the examples that we have here, yes. But probably there are others which receive this structure but are not related to information. So there can be some exceptions, right? But yes, I suppose that we can include also some reporting verbs here, like for example, claim and express and well, many of them, right? So the reporting verbs per se were the ones that we checked in the week number 4, I think so, 3, that we were talking about like superstitions and stuff, right? But well, anyway, so in this case, guys, the idea is that we're going with these verbs, we follow this structure, which is the direct object first and the indirect object in the second place. But if I follow this structure, it's necessary to include one of these prepositions, depending if it's a or para, right? So depending on that, I'm going to use 2 or 4. For example, I said, I describe describe the scene for her. Yes. So in that case, we said, okay, the scene, it's the direct object. That is what I am describing. And then I say the indirect object, which is the woman. So, okay, I describe the scene for her. Yeah. Teacher, and is it possible to make a change? Not really, because when I say, for example, I describe her, I describe her, yes, it means that I am describing the person. So, okay, no, this is the person, and these are her arms, and this is her hair, no? So that is not what I mean. What I mean is that I describe other thing for her. So when I use these verbs, it's necessary to include the preposition between the direct object and the indirect object, right? Of course, here, for example, I said I use an object pronoun, but I can change it for the name of the person, for example. I describe the scene for my wife. Yeah. So it's possible to replace it with the object pronouns. Of course, taking into account that I previously mentioned the information. If it's the first time that I say, I know I described the scene for her, but probably you're going to tell me, like, teacher, who's her? Who are we talking about? Okay, no, my wife. Then in the other information in the next sentences, then I can replace the nouns for pronouns, okay? Guys, so far, questions with this structure? Direct object for or to an indirect object?
It's clear, teacher.
Yeah. Questions? No?
No, teacher, everything is clear.
Great. How can I understand, or how can I recognize if I'm using to or if I am using for? It depends on the verb, right? For example, if it's, for example, mention para or mention a. What do you think? Mention to or mention for?
Two.
To, very good, excellent, right? Or if I say return to, return for.
Two.
Exactly, right? So some of them, most of them are going to be with to, but there are some of them which is para tal persona. Then in that case, we use for, but it depends on the verb entirely, okay? Now, we have the other group, which is going to be the opposite. in which I use the indirect object first and then the direct object. In that case, we do not have to use any kind of preposition between the both objects, right? So with verbs like such as allow, ask, cause, and cost. Yeah. So for example, I don't know, it cost me an leg. Yeah, or an eye of the face or something like that. Or like no, it's an arm and a leg. Sorry. I forgot the expression. An arm and a leg. Do you know the meaning of the expression an arm and a leg? It's an expression, not literal, of course, but do you know what is the meaning of that?
When everything has to be done with a lot of effort.
Yeah, well, mostly it's when we talk about like money, and it's when something is quite expensive. So, like in Spanish, we use an expression with un ojo de la cara. In here, it's an arm and a leg. So, no, it cost me an arm and a leg. So it cost me a lot. It was very expensive. Okay. And here we have that thing, but with the word cost, yeah, we see that, okay, it cost me. What did it cost? An arm and a leg. All of that, an arm and a leg, it's the direct object, which is like, what cost me? All of this. But who receives the cost? Me. I am the indirect object. But in this case, with this verb, I usually put it in the opposite way. First, the indirect object, and then the direct object, right? Verbs like, for example, allow, ask, cause, cost. Yeah, so questions on these verbs? Any questions about them? No? Yes?
No, teacher.
Yeah, very good, right? So take into account that these structures are quite strict, especially these two, right? Because if you change it, there is a very big possibility that you're going to change the sentence meaning, right? So as I said before, if I said I explain her and not I explain the scene for her, then I mean other thing completely different. Yeah. The same here. If I say I allow a lot of money to me, like it doesn't sound right. Okay. And in the middle here, these verbs, which are like the best, the biggest majority, they can receive both structures. So you can use them like this, or you can use them like that. Get, give, lend, offer, sell, send, show, teach, tell, a lot of this, right? So in that case, what we can do is to try. What is the structure that sounds better for you? For example, I don't know, let's say give, yeah? So I give money to my mom, right? I lend money or I give money to my mom, yeah? Of course, it's using this structure. Using first the direct object, money, to, and then indirect object, ready? My mom, okay? Or I can use it on the other way. For example, I give mom some money, yeah? With these verbs, there is not like ambiguity, so it's like clear what is the meaning of the verb. Even if I use it first the direct object, first the indirect object, then the other, it's the same, right? So in that case, we don't have a lot of space for confusions, right? So it's like, go fine. Questions on these verbs? Get, give, lend, offer, sell, send, show, teach, tell.
No, sir.
No, excellent, very good. So, Mrs. Emily, could you please read the sentence below?
My bank
Counselor?
counselor
Counselor?
counselor described the process for me. It is going to cost me a lot of bucks.
Exactly. So in that case, we use actually the both examples, but the example is with the both verbs that we used before. Describe the process for me. Yeah. Direct object, indirect object. And here, it is going to cost me a lot of bucks. Indirect object and direct object. Ready? So it's just trying to follow or try to memorizing. It's not going to work here. But every time that you listen these structures, you're going to identify if it sounds right or not. I don't know how can I explain this, but it's like an instinct that you start developing in which you start judging if the sentence sounds right or not. Hmm? So, for example, here we're going to have this sentence, and then I write down here. I recommend. Oh, wait, come on. I recommend my mom some pills. Or I recommend some pills to my mom. What do you think? Which one is correct? Probably you don't remember, but which one sounds right?
For me, the second one.
The second one says Alan. Okay, and Emmy, what do you think?
Yes, I was thinking in the two option too.
Yeah, and the second option too. Yes, very good. So in that case, because if I say I recommend my mom some pills, not really, right? Doesn't sound right. Probably I suggest my mom suggest it's a possibility with that with the second with the first structure, sorry. But recommend it's a verb that follows normally the first structure. Direct object to or for, and then the indirect object. In this case, I recommend this to this person. So I recommend some pills to my mom. Yeah. So it's just a matter of well, memorizing can work, but it's not always going to work because there are a lot of different verbs. So it's a matter of like developing that ear, that listening skill, in order to judge if a sentence is right or wrong. Okay. Bueno, my dear people. So here we are going to see that when we have an object pronoun, there are going to be some differences in organization of the sentence. And help me to read the first part, my friend.
When the direct object is a pronoun, it goes before the indirect object. For example, my best friend owes me money, owes money to me.
Oh, exactly. So in that case, when the direct object is a pronoun, I have to use it in the first sentence. Ready? I change, for example, in this case, money for it. So, and it is necessary to maintain that position, the first part, right? And in the second case, my friend, the yellow explanation,
When the indirect object is a pronoun, it can go before or after the direct object. For
mhm,
example, the teacher gave me the best grade. The teacher gave the best grade to me.
exactly. Ah, bueno, you didn't see it, but it's to me. Good. Exactly. So in that case, when it's the direct object, a pronoun here, me, yeah, and especially because we have the verb give or the give in this case, it can go before or after, no? So you can use both options in that case, right? Well, for example, here we have show, yeah, graphics, and here me. Hmm. How would you organize that sentence? Doesn't matter the subject. Let's say this, the subject is this woman, so subject is she. Create a sentence, organized the elements properly, please. What do you think? How would it be?
Solo son con las tres opciones que aparecen ahí.
With the three
O,
words, only with the number one, you have to organize these three words in the correct way. Okay. There are different possibilities, of course. Try to develop one of the possibilities.
Teacher,
Mhm, mhm.
I believe that she shows graphics to me.
But that's one possibility. She shows the graphics or those graphics or graphs, graphs to me. Option number one. Yeah, great. Mm. Another possibility, Mrs. Emily. One of the other possibilities. Emily just lost connection. Wait, so the other possibility is putting the object, the indirect object first, because show is a verb that accepts both possibilities. So I could say, for example, she shows me the graphs, you know, it's a possibility, yeah. In this case, the direct object, it's a noun. It's not a pronoun, it's a noun, the direct object. And here, same, right? But if I want to replace this one with a pronoun, there it's where it says that if the direct object is a pronoun, it's going to go before the direct object. So graphs, which is in that case plural, the object would be them, right? So I can say she shows them to me, right? First, the direct object as a pronoun, yeah. And it's not possible to say like she shows me them. That this is what it's not possible to do, right? Because in this case, the direct object here, this is the direct object, is a pronoun. So, and we say that if the direct object is a pronoun, it has to go before the indirect object. But if it's a noun, if it's the name, the complete name of the thing, in that case, it can go before or it can go after. Yes, it can go after. It can go after the direct object. So after the indirect object, right? You have both possibilities. What about in the second case? Let me know. She teaches in this case calculus and my sister. How would you organize that?
Sure, we
Mhm.
use the first instruction that we have seen before. So I teach calculus to my sister.
That's a good possibility. I teach calculus to my sister. Yeah, that's one possibility. Yeah. Is there any other possibility?
No, because of the verb is teach.
Uh-huh. But teach, what do you think? Teach is only with the first one? Or is it possible to use it with the other structure?
It's possible with the both.
Yes, it's possible with both. Very good. So sorry, I passed by. Oh my God. Here. So the first one that you said, it's great, Adam. So you said, I teach calculus to my sister. That's great. But I can replace here my sister for a pronoun. What is the pronoun or the object pronoun for my sister?
Her?
Her, because it's a woman, of course. So it will be, I teach calculus to her. If I don't want to repeat my sister, no? So le enseño cálculo a ella, right? So I teach calculus to her. Fine, that's great. But remember, if the object pronoun is sorry, if the indirect object it's a pronoun, it can go before or after, no? So I can say I teach calculus to her or I teach her calculus. Both are fine. As I can say, for example, I teach my sister calculus. I can move it, yeah, because this verb also receive both structures. The first one, as Alan did it, and also the second one, right? What is what I can do? I can replace calculus, that is, of course, it, as a pronoun. And I can use it, for example, I teach it to her or to my sister. Yeah. The direct object first because it's a pronoun. What I cannot do, I cannot use the direct object lastly if it's a pronoun. So saying like I teach her it, that is what I cannot do. Ready? That is what I cannot do because if the direct object is a pronoun, it always goes before the indirect object. Ready? Un poquito más claro. This is a little bit confusing sometimes, but a little bit better. Yeah, kind of.
Yes, teacher.
Great. Let's do number three. Number three is get. The direct object is a cup of coffee, and the indirect object is a boss. I don't know if it's a woman or it's a man, the boss, but that is the indirect object. Tell me what possibilities do we have here?
Both.
Of course, both, right? Actually, if you notice, all the four verbs receive both options. Show, teach, get, and offer, they receive both options. It's necessary that we use these verbs. Sorry, it's necessary. Oh my God. It's necessary that we use the verbs that we have here in the middle. Why? Because these ones, they don't accept adverb and direct object before it. And these ones, they never accept the indirect object before. So this thing of moving the object first and second, it's only with these verbs. Ready? So all of these verbs actually are going to receive both structures. Okay. So what possibilities do we have here?
I get a cup of coffee for my boss.
Marvelous. So I get a cup of coffee for my boss. The common structure, no? So direct object, preposition, and then the indirect object. I get a cup of coffee for my boss. Perfect, right? Other possibilities?
Eh, I get for my boss a cup of coffee.
Very good. I get my boss. In that case, cuando va el objeto predilecto antes, mí, ahí no hay necesidad de colocar el for ni el to. Simplemente I get my boss a cup of coffee, right? Sin preposición.
Okay, yeah, it sounds weird at the beginning, so I confuse it.
Yeah, no, but in that case, when the indirect object is first, you don't need to use preposition. So I get my boss a cup of coffee. Perfecto. Hasta ahí, muy bien. Ambos como sustantivo. Pero I can replace it, ¿cierto? I can replace it with pronouns. So I can say, for example, I get, supongamos que es una mujer la jefa, so I get her a cup of coffee. O I get a cup of coffee for her. El objeto indirecto puede ir antes o después, no importa, right? But the cup of coffee, which is it can only goes if I replace it with pronoun only at the beginning. So I can say only I get it for my boss. That's the only way. I cannot say I get my boss it because in that case it's not permitted to use the direct object as a pronoun in the second place or in the second position. Okay. Last one. Offer available home client. Offer available home client.
Both again.
Of course, both again. So show me one, whatever you want.
I offer an available home for my client.
Very good. I offer an available home. In that case, we be more two, no? Ofrecerle a, yeah. So I offer an available home to my client. Great. Possibility number one. Any other? Amy, show me something. What other possibilities do we have there? Amy, are you there?
Sorry, teacher, my internet
Okay, don't worry, relax.
it's slow today.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, dale, go.
I'm not sure. Maybe I offer client available home.
Yes, of course. I offer my client an available home.
Oh,
Ready? I offer my client an available home. So, in summary, because you read this part, in summary, we're going to have kind of six options, right? So I can, of course, first I have the verb in all the cases, ready? And then I can organize it like direct object plus preposition 204, ¿cierto? 204 plus the indirect object, yeah? The direct object can be a noun, yeah? Or can be a pronoun. And the same here. Can be a noun or it can be a pronoun. Yes. But then if I say, for example, this, when it's a noun, can be here or can be there. Yeah. So I can say, for example, verb, noun, direct object, yes, plus the, let's say, preposition, plus indirect object, independientemente si es noun o pronoun, right? Let's say noun. Okay. But if it's a pronoun, si este direct object is pronoun, it mandatorily has to stay here. Se tiene que quedar acá. It can't go at the end. No podría ir al final. En cambio, the indirect object, it can stay here, puede quedarse acá o puede ir al inicio si es pronombre objeto, right? So it's just a matter of taking into account if you are using the noun or the pronoun, and if it's the pronoun of the indirect object or the pronoun of the direct object, the one that I'm replaced. Yeah, taking that into account that because that is going to permit to make the different changes and like organization yeah, not changes, modifications to the sentence. Okay, questions there, guys? Difficulties? Is it clear?
no, teacher.
It's clear, teacher.
Very good. So here we're going to have the last activity, and it's a brainstorming. Right? So in that case, it's a brainstorming for improving our financial life. Right? It says think on some mini tips that could help people for improving their financial life. Think on who does the action and who does receive it. Right? So, for example, you can only allow yourself, perdón, está mal. Yourself, porque es reflexivo. You can only allow yourself 10% of your salary for free spending. Entonces, 10% of your salary, of yourself, es el objeto indirecto, ready? And 10% of your salary es el objeto directo, right? Or, for example, it's essential that you return money to people who lent it to you. Okay? Es money to, y acá, people who lent it to you es todo el objeto indirecto, right? Because guys, come on with one tip, two tips about financial improvement, but try to be clear about who is doing the action and who's receiving the action. Try to, of course, use the verbs that we saw, offer, explain, get, give, cost, allow, describe, so on, right? So I am going to go back to the slide of the verbs so you can use them correctly. Ready? So think on a financial tip using these verbs and of course using the correct structure independently if you are using the object pronoun or the noun. It depends on you, but use the correct structure. Okay. So Whenever you are ready, tell me. I will be here listening to you.
Teacher,
Yep.
it is necessary to save at least 75% of your salary for your spendings.
Wait a second. So it is necessary to say 70% of which, sorry, 20% of your salary of your, oh my God, what's going on with me? Of your salary for what, sorry, once again, for
For your spendings.
expenses, yes?
Yes.
Good, very good. So in that case, of course, that we have expenses, which are the indirect object, and also 70% of your salary for the direct object, connected with the preposition for. Muy bien, Ada. Thank you so much. And my dear Emily, what tip do you have? What tip comes to your mind?
Um, you should give your children financial advice every week.
Wait, you should give yourself?
No, you should you should give her okay? But you should give your
Sure.
children
Your children.
financial advice every week.
Okay, okay, Emily, I got it now. Very good. So you should give your kids. Great, excellent. So your kids, that's going to be the indirect object, and then financial help, the direct object. Other possibility, you should give financial help to your kids every week. That's good. And on the other case, you should save. In that case, save it's only possible with that way, so it cannot be changed on the other way. But with give, it is possible. So that's why I can play with those words and locate it in different ways. Okay, guys, how do you feel? Is it clear how to place the objects, the direct and in the indirect object? Is it clear?
Yes, teacher.
Yeah.
Yes, teacher.
Okay, very good, guys. So we're going to check tomorrow for the second class of the week, number 6. And it's a very, not difficult, but it's a very interesting class because it's going to be about the subjunctive. Ready? Subjunctive, which is a topic that can be confusing. It's so simple, but it can be confusing. And probably the people get confused like precisely because it's so easy that people say like, no, but something is missing here. So see you tomorrow in class because it's going to be a kind of interesting class. And well, if you have already questions about the subjunctive, see you tomorrow and we're going to find it out, okay? Tomorrow the class is at 7, 7 or at 8? I don't remember. I mean, tomorrow class is at 8.
No, I think it's more early. Let me check.
But I think it's at 7.
No, at 8. Bueno,
Oh,
pues no sé, acá lo tengo a las 8.
let me just check it out. But yeah, probably the next week it's earlier. Let me find it out. Tomorrow class is at yes, it's at 8. So guys, see you tomorrow at the same time, 8. Have a good night, sleep tight. That's it. See you tomorrow. Thank you for coming here.
Bye, teacher. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks to
much.
you. Bye.
Teacher, a question.
Yep, tell me.